Oh, sure.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Linda. I'm from here. I'm the president of GABA, and I am so thrilled to see the turnout that we've had tonight for this candidate night. Oh, hello. They can't hear me back there. Can you hear me better now? Okay. All right. I just wanted to say thank you for the turnout. This is awesome. And I wanted to thank everyone for coming to our candidates night. And my dad was a really smart guy. And he always used to say, the most important politics you ever get involved with are local politics, because they're the most important for our communities. So I'm looking forward to becoming informed tonight. And I'd like to thank Lisa Muterdes and Martin Hubbardy for being our candidates. John Hamilton is going to be our mediator. And we'll ask him to explain how it's going to go, the intros and the timing of the questions and all that. But before I introduce John, I wanted to get started by just saying that putting on and sponsoring this candidates night is the kind of thing that GABA does for our community. And we are in no way political. We are a nonprofit, and we will remain nonpartisan. We have worked really hard to bring GABA back, and we understand we lost it once due to politics, and we don't want that to ever happen again. We want to continue to support local business and grow together as a community. So I just wanted you guys to know that's what GABA is really about, and that's our mission, to really help our community grow. So I'm going to introduce John.
Thank you for joining us tonight. And it means a great deal that you're here. And we know that there's been many candidates nights and fundraising efforts. And a lot of the questions tonight you will have heard, probably variations on those, a lot of the events, but I also think it's different to do it before a bipartisan audience. And also wanted to say thank you to each candidate that's running. And from covering news in the county for 17 years, we know that running for supervisor is not something you do lightly. I think I'm going to switch microphones. Is this one a little clearer? Yes. Okay. Running for supervisor is not something you do lightly. And it sounds like a fun job, but it becomes vitally serious when you have things such as a butte fire or various other things in the past. And one of the times that I remember in our county was when we had structural corruption at the county level. And those of us who followed and been in real estate and everything else, we all know an era from, say, 2006 to 2010 where things got really dicey at the county level. And what I mean by that is it wasn't really political. It wasn't truly left, right, or anything else. But there's times that both of whoever wins this race will have to put on their big boy pants. And it's not just, there may be a time where it's not just rudimentary government as usual, whether it be a butte fire or whether it be another issue like that, where you really have to want this job for the right reasons. And that's one of the reasons why I thought something like this tonight was a good idea. But also want to thank them for running, and I mean that sincerely. And also thank you for the time that they've invested in their communities when they've not been candidates, when they've just been members of the community. I need to do a mea culpa. In trying to put this together, one of the things is we wanted to have an open and honest forum on it. And the way that I handled it this last week gives the appearance of a favoritism which was not intended, but I have to own that. And I have to own that. We're basically, Martin Rass requested that some of the questions be delivered to the candidates in advance. And I thought that that's not always done into something like this, but I also thought that the number of questions that we actually had time to ask and answer was not a really long list. And I thought from the number of questions, you were going to have a commonality of questions of issues that each of the candidates had answered on their websites, so that they have positions on these, and we didn't want anybody out of left field. I screwed up on that, and where I meant to post what I was going to do is the post that I did on the Pine Tree publicly today with the questions or the subjects that we will be talking about tonight. I intended to have that up by Monday, and I did not. And it gave the appearance of I was trying to show favoritism to one side of the aisle. That is entirely my fault. That is nobody else's fault. It is not GABA's fault, and I don't want this to reflect negatively on GABA. Events like this, in some ways, for an organization to put on, can be a lose-lose, because half of the audience of those, if their candidate wins, they think great. If they lost, then there's sometimes ends up being a search for a scapegoat or something like that. If you're looking, if you're not happy with the results of how this turns out tonight, I'm the one to blame, not GABA. And this is something where, and I wish I could redo this week. I did not. I have no excuse in the fact that I was putting on many hats, and I thought yes.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to follow what you're trying to. So one candidate got questions,
Yes.
the other didn't.
And I apologize. Martin did get the questions ahead of Lisa. Both of them had them before the event, but this does show on my part. There's no way I can can walk it back that to somebody looking from the audience, it was looking like I would be favoring one party or another. That was not intended. That was my fault.
Matt cannot hear,
Okay.
so maybe you could repeat the question, whoever asked the question.
Sure. Basically, what I was doing was a mea culpa. And the mea culpa is I had intended to publish the list of questions for tonight early on Monday. I did not. I did not post those until today.
I think they just wanted to know her question.
Oh, what was your question? Yes.
When did Martin, is it Martin, I'm assuming, got it before? When did he?
Yes, he got them last Friday, late.
Friday. When did Lisa get the question?
Today.
Late.
That was some, and there's no way I can walk that back right now. Yeah.
Just write new questions real quick and ask them, and they both don't know.
Thank you.
Stand up. Let's just get on. Who asked the question?
That-
Let us ask the question.
He told me he wouldn't show up at the interview. That's what he said. Because I just found out 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago.
Yes, question.
Sir, I'd like to make a suggestion.
Please do.
You take those questions that you have up there.
Yeah.
Throw them in the circular file. Have the questions come from the floor.
Okay. You want to do it then from the audience then? Okay.
I think just
Yes.
Because you can explain what all the concerns were, maybe have their cards put in writing, and then you can draw from the cards so that nobody gets put into a bad position. Because we know with the public, we do not let them ask the question, read from the card. I mean, I don't have any issues, you can go
Or no, no, no.
but I
That's a
think
good
safe
suggestion.
around.
Okay. What we're going to do. Okay. What we are going to do is, if you have a question that you would like to ask tonight, and it may be similar to the ones that were already posted, but it may or may not be. What we're going to do is allow anyone who's running for office in the county to come up to do candidate statements and introduce themselves if they're on the ballot for this year. So while we're doing the candidate statements for the other candidates, if you have a specific question you would like asked tonight, please write that down and turn in a question, and then we will pull the questions from the ones that were submitted. Does that sound fair? Okay.
Okay, at the back of the room, I had printed up a paper because we were afraid we would not get to everybody's questions. Because this could go, we can't be here all night. So what we did was, in case people were not able to get to their question, we have paper in the back that has your name, your email address, and then you could give it to the candidate that you wanted answered. That was for just in case nobody was able to be heard. That way you can feel like your voice is still heard. So you can go to the back and get those paper and write your questions out and bring them up. That's your opportunity.
Can you hear us?
There was, she left an iPhone and an iPad up here, and the glasses ahead of time. So if somebody has that or seen that and moved it in the audience, we're missing we're missing an iPad and an iPhone. So, yeah. All right. So if you see those, let Lisa know. Okay. Now we're going to switch to the house system. All right. Well, I guess we'll stick with this one for.
This one's working, right? Can you hear this one in the back?
No, they should be okay. It's just. Oh. No, they're lighting up. Testing. They're lighting up. Okay. Those who are running for office in the county, would you like to come up, and we'll let you roll through? Yes, come on. Here we go.
Is there more than one?
There is. All right.
There's more than one office for them.
More than one person.
And for field division, just stay right there in front.
All right, here we go.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Barr. I'm actually running for Treasurer Tax Collector. I have been a resident of Calaveras County for almost 30 years. I moved here in 1994 with my husband, who's a Calaveras native. We have 2 children, and I have 2 grandchildren. Like most parents, we participated in our kids' youth sports programs and ag programs. I served as the secretary treasurer for both the Calaveras National Little League and Calaveras FFA. And now my grandkids are participating in those same programs, and their parents are also serving on the various boards for those programs. I have 20 years experience working for Calaveras County. I started working with Public Works back in 1995, mainly as a program manager where I was in charge of recycling programs. Some of you may have seen me, you're the longtime residents, at the fair handing out oil funnels, shop rags, recycled shoelaces. I did that for a number of years. I was there for 10 years. I then went to work for the Auditor Controller's Office. I worked there doing the property tax functions of that office, including calculating the property tax rates, reconciling accounts, apportioning the funds after they were collected by the treasurer tax collector. I worked with the assessor's office, tax collector's office, and as well as special district board members. I currently work as a technical consultant / subject matter expert for a company that installs property tax software in various counties in California. They hired me because I have the knowledge of the revenue and taxation code. And I'm familiar with all three offices. When I worked for the auditor's office, I kind of thought that someday I would eventually run for the treasurer tax collector's office. But I've been working for my present company for about 5 years, and when I went to work for them, I didn't really think about it again. In January, I heard that Barbara wasn't seeking re-election. Talked it over with my family, a few of my friends, and decided to throw my hat in the ring. As I mentioned in some other venues, it's kind of sad that the treasurer tax collector and D3 are the only local races that have opponents running. Everything else is unopposed. So I decided that I wanted to get in the race. I've talked to several people in the community, and they encouraged me to run. Some of them have expressed concerns with the office. Of course, before I made any changes, I would make a complete and detailed assessment before any changes were made. But I look forward to using my experience and management skills to make any improvements that may be necessary to provide the best service in an effective and efficient manner, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for running. Also, we have Bertha Underhill running here, and she is running for her position on the CCWD board again. Here you go. Right here in front of it. That's where we'll stay up here.
John, he's saying try the other microphone.
Okay. Is that better now? Testing. Oh, there we go. That's the house system. Is that better? Okay, because we got clear back and overflow. Look at that. All right. We're packing them in tonight.
I am absolutely thrilled to see the turnout tonight. I just love it. I just love saying hello to all of you, all of my friends. We've been friends since 1988. 1988, and I decided that CCWD is where I wanted to hang my hat. I've served you for 4 terms already, and it's time again, and I will do it one more time. I come to you from Santa Clara County, as I say, in 1988. I came up here with my husband, who used to hunt in Evans Pass, and he killed deer when he came up by himself. After we moved up here, he didn't kill any more deer, so I didn't know. But anyway, I've lived here, as I say, since 1988, and my first job was with the Calaveras Enterprise. If you remember how I came around and I met a lot of you business owners, that's how I got started in Calaveras County. Then I decided I think that I should make money for myself instead of for the Calaveras Enterprise, so then I struck out on my own as an independent contractor selling advertising, and I loved it because I met so many people. It was just great for me to stand here and just say hello to people that I haven't seen in just such a long time. And as I say, I want to do it with Calaveras County Water District one more time. I will not declare until July, and then of course I'll be on the November ballot. So at this point, I've not heard of anybody who wants to say, see you later, Bertha. So I hope you'll remember my name, Bertha Underhill, out of District 3, and I moved down from Camp Connell. That's where I met a lot of people, Camp Connell, Dorrington, and I'm now living here in Arnold. And I can't believe all the conveniences you have here in Arnold. You have a bank, you have a post office, a gas station, a grocery store. My God, what was I missing out there?
We've got good water.
Oh, and I was at our source of water. And I just love the water district. I know we've had, ups and downs, but I'm still there and I'm working for you. They know very well who I represent, and I represent each and every one of you.
Thank you.
Okay?
Great.
All right. Let's get the show started. Also, one of the things I wanted to say is we've been covering news here in the area for 17 years. And one of the things that we know that during political season, everyone lines up in their camps. That's part of the deal. But also, one of the things that's always struck me from history, if you believe in the old 80-20 rule, the Pareto's law of distribution, it is a statistical certainty that 80% of us in this room will agree on 80% of the issues 80% of the time. And the things that we agree on, whether you have a little d, a little r, or a big R, or a big D beside your name, the things that we agree on are vastly larger than the things on which we disagree. And again, thank you to those who, thank you to our candidates, and we do have some questions in. There's a couple of them that are variations on the questions of the list that were published. So to get started, we're going to start with the 5-minute opening statements for the candidates. Oh, yes, and also one question is, since we're having trouble hearing, if people could mute their phones. If people could mute their phones, and we'll get started with the opening statements by each candidate, and hopefully that's something that I haven't screwed up on that one. So, there we go. And we'll go left to right. You want to start off with your opening statement, Lisa?
Fine.
There we go.
Hello, everybody. I want to thank GABA for holding this event and bringing the community together tonight. We.
Thank you.
I always say I wanted to thank everybody for coming out tonight and thanking GABA for holding this event. I will admit I was extremely upset today when I got notified by people that on Facebook it was posted the questions were out and I had not been notified. So I called John and he explained that my opponent wanted to not attend if he didn't get the questions in advance. I was not happy. It felt like a setup. So I'm over it. We're going to have some fresh questions rephrased in a different way, and now we can move forward. So I want to tell you that I have lived in this area for 39 years. I lived in Dorrington and Arnold. I have 4 generations of family living in District 3. My parents, myself, my children, and my grandchildren. It's a broad area that I cover and care about. From what are our elder services going to look like to what do our preschools look like, because they're non-existent, and we really need to work on that. Part of my background and training was I was a state director for the California Association of Realtors for 20 years, and that was a lot of legislative background. We would be assigned to committees. There were 1,100 of us, and I was fortunate to be somebody that got to excel through that process. I served on impact committees with budgets of over $20 million. And we would award those funds out. I was on the executive committee. I was a regional chair representing 7 counties. And basically what we did there was meet with our legislators to fight for private property rights. During those meetings, it was a great experience. I chaired our land use committee at the state, which gave me the basis for being on the planning commission. I spent 4 years on the planning commission. During that time, our general plan was 21 years old, and to get a project into the county when your general plan is out of date, it's very, very difficult. So the first couple of years we started in on the general plan. It took 2 years to complete it. We went line by line. A lot of people don't know what the general plan is or what it does. It's basically the Bible for our county. It is our zoning, it's our land use, it's our water, it's fire. It goes through everything in this county. It comes down to, are you gonna get a project or not? Because that tells us what we're gonna do. I learned more rewriting that general plan about this county than I ever could have learned just living here. It was a great experience, and it kind of set me in the motion of, I really love this county, I want to be a part of moving it forward, and so that is part of my background. 3 items that are very big concerns for me. I've posted them on my website since day one, and as you'll notice, my website doesn't change daily. It stays the same because I am consistent about the things I want to work on and see get accomplished in the county. I want to work on affordable housing. I have some great ideas regarding that because our TOT tax has gone from 6% to 12%. And so we have a lot of extra funding there. And I think that even though we have a memorandum of understanding and it's split between 4 departments, we can start setting some of those funds aside from the short-term rentals to look forward to affordable housing and helping people get into homes. I have served on an affordable housing committee. I'm currently still the treasurer, and on that committee what we do is promote affordable housing for people that live and work in Calaveras County. So you basically can get a hand up, not a handout. We're giving you a hand up because if you live and work in our community for 2 years, you get to keep that 3% deposit to get into a home. And that's one of the ways we can help with our affordable housing. Obviously, snow removal has been pretty rough the last 5 years, getting worse every year. I've talked to our director of the planning department, and I can see owning a snow removal company in Dorrington for over 10 years and then 20 in Arnold. I have a good idea of what we need to be doing and why aren't we doing what we used to do. So I am committed to working on snow removal with the Public Works Department. Short-term rentals, I want to do some regulation. I want to see us get those fine-tuned so that we all can keep that industry. I don't want our homeowners association shutting them down because that's what they're all considering doing. So anything that we can do, and I've got ideas for the regulation, I'm sure that's going to be one of the questions coming forward, so I'll save all that. The reason I'm running is because I absolutely care about Calaveras County, and I will be the supervisor to lead us into the future. I am here, I'm committed, I answer my emails.
Hello, I'm Martin Hubbardy. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you to the GABA. Let's go with that. Everybody knows what that acronym is. Thank you. I am the Executive Director for the Calaveras Visitors Bureau. I'm the CEO of the Chamber. I run the Angels Museum and the Film Commission. It sounds like a lot, but I have great teams everywhere that support me and that make everything happen. It's been a crazy couple of years, obviously, for everybody. It was especially so in the Visitors Bureau. Sort of, how do I want to put it? Directing the Visitors Bureau through COVID was very difficult. When we could bring people into the county, how to bring them into the county. We spent a lot of time educating people, asking them to take their trash home with them, telling them to be respectful of our businesses and the people that live in Calaveras. During COVID, the City of Angels wasn't going to be able to open the museum. And I was saying, why would you pay me to market a town where the only attraction isn't open? And it wasn't a new idea, but it was an idea that had been sitting there. So I moved the Visitors Bureau into the museum. By doing so, I saved the city $200,000, and I saved $30,000 out of my budget. I think these partnerships are very important, and that's essentially what led me on to the Chamber, because ultimately a lot of the work that the Chamber and the CVB do, we double up. and I think that there's room for savings, and I think putting all of these organizations on the right track will get a lot further. The Hubbardys came for the gold rush. They made their living after the gold rush in ranching. They have been leaders in this community since the 1850s. I grew up coming to the Hubbardy Ranch. I was born and raised in Sacramento, but the Hubbardy Ranch was between Angels Camp and San Andreas on 4th Crossing. It's the first ranch on the left. I spent all of my formative years coming out almost every weekend. And my grandmother, I don't know if you know the rock cabin up at Lake Alpine in the Cove. She built that in the 50s. It was a derelict building that was used to build the dam in the 1880s, apologies. And they stored all the dynamite and the equipment in that building. She put a cabin up there, and we were very fortunate to have it for 40 years. So again, it's a magical place, and I feel very grateful to have been able to spend most of my life in this area. The ranch and the cabin got sold in the 90s. I really wanted to still have a place here in Calaveras. It's always meant so much to me. And almost 20 years ago, I bought the Utica Powerhouse. And once again, that was pretty much a ruin. I spent 2 years here turning it into my house. And I consider it one of the jewels of Calaveras. I really enjoy being back here. My career has been, I don't know whether you know this, but my career has all been in filmmaking, and I worked with the royal family for 10 years abroad. But my heart is in Calaveras, and that's why I came back. I've done, I think it's 18 meet and greets now, and the better part of that was up here in White Pines and Arnold. I've been listening to your issues. I feel very strongly that I have a good handle on your issues. Affordable housing, short-term rentals. I think public safety, also infrastructure, everything can sort of fit into those three main categories. But I think the one that sort of took me by surprise were a lot of people in this area were upset that they felt that the county wasn't giving back to them. And they wanted their town to be better. They wanted Arnold to look better. And I can remember driving up here in the 60s and 70s when there was this immaculate golf course, and people were out there in their Bermuda shorts, and the buildings were slick because they were brand new. I would love to be able to take some of my professional experience that I've learned from outside the county and come in with a fresh face and address these issues using my professional experience. Thank you so much for having me here tonight.
All right, we're going to start off with a couple of the generic business questions that are related to the business climate in the county. Basically, we're going to start off with, and these will be 2-minute answers, and we'll start off with Lisa again. And what would you do to improve the business climate in District 3? What would you do to improve the business climate in District 3?
So you're asking the questions off the list again?
Just for the first generic couple questions, and then after that we'll
Not the deal, John.
Okay, yeah.
Not the deal.
Okay, can I say something?
Sure.
You know, I don't have a problem with just asking a question. Is that a problem? Do we have to have it written down? Or can we just come out and just say,
We better have it written, because sometimes these can get out of hand. All right, we'll do this a little differently here then. This is a submitted question, but this is a generic one that I think applies to all. What are your views on fire evacuation preparedness? And what experience do you bring to this subject? What are your views on fire evacuation preparedness? And what experience and expertise do you bring to this subject?
So at all my meet and greets, I had large maps printed of all the fire breaks put around our communities, from Big Trees all the way down through Vallecito. So a lot of people don't realize the extent of the fire breaks that started being put into our county in 2018. We have basically encompassed our entire area. When we all had to evacuate here from the Butte fire, it was a nightmare getting through Murphy's. Many of you sat 2.5, 3 hours trying to get off Highway 4. That was an advisory evacuation. It wasn't a real, you gotta go now evacuation. So one of the things that I'm gonna say is I feel good about the fire protections. We have 200 and some of them 100-foot wide fire breaks around us. If the fire starts outside of our area, we have time to get out of here. Don't wait, leave. I'm just gonna say that. But we have a little bit more time than we used to have. As far as if the fire starts inside of that circle of the fire breaks, we don't need to be waiting. I know a lot of people stay in their homes and wait, but I've talked with the fire department in detail about this. And the stoplight in Murphy's is what caused all the backup and all the difficulties getting out of here. Since then, we have been able to do a better evacuation. They got the light connected to Stockton so they can say disconnect that light and keep that traffic rolling. The sheriff's department, the fire department have communicated. That's gonna be our most difficult issue getting out of here. If we look at the backside of Moran going to Avery from Arnold, that road is rough, narrow, and it's gonna be tough getting out of there, but that may be your only route. We really need to focus on that road at some point with getting funds and getting it a little bit smoother so that people can evacuate safely.
And if to both the candidates here, if you're in mid-thought and you want to finish up that thought, we'll let it go a few seconds over. It's not a hard.
I have a lot of thoughts. You don't want
Well, on the question. All right. I will. The question is, what are your views on fire evacuation preparedness, and what expertise do you bring to this subject?
I'll start by saying that I just met with Chief Johnson. I met with him first here at the town hall that GABA did. Thank you. If you aren't signed up for our for the emergency alerts, please do. The other thing that we can all do is have those red tags with us, the evacuated tags, which are very important to put on your door once you have evacuated. I would say that my experience with this, I did do the 2Care tour of all of our fire clearance areas back in October, I believe it was, and it was impressive to see the amount of work that's already been done. I have a tremendous amount of work that's being done now by UPUD up at the top of my hill that I've actually been looking at as well. The mastication, I think, is an amazing, I think we need to do more, obviously. I would say that my experience with it has been really with the Visitors Bureau, because my concern originally originated when I had visitors coming into this area, and how was I going to let them know what a PSPS was? How was I going to let them know how to evacuate? One of the things actually that we learned also at the last town hall was the sheriff was talking about these boxes that hopefully PG&E will be able to give us all. So every household will have this box, which will be an alert system, so that even if the cell towers go out, the landlines go out, your Wi-Fi goes out, you would still be able to be alerted. It's a huge concern for me also, and actually I talked to the chief the other day because I was wondering if there was any way that we could do practice drills. I think I live right at the base of Utica Powerhouse Road and the Highway 4, and I can't even get out on Sundays when everybody's heading home because of that light. But I think drills might not be a bad idea, that we could actually practice.
Okay, and now we're going to go, to make it fair, the next question will start with Martin, and then Lisa can answer after Martin. And the next question is, what are your plans for appeasing the affordable housing issue on the Highway 4 corridor in District 3? And we'll start off with Martin on that. And what are your plans for appeasing the affordable housing issue on the Highway 4 corridor in District 3?
Hi, this is very near and dear to me. I have employees that I pay $17 an hour for that can't afford to live in the county. They are instrumental to the work that we do, both at the CVB and the museum. And actually, I was helping to find the location and was able to come up with something in Tanwood. Affordable housing is not just for low-income people, it's for moderate income as well. We had, I believe somebody from our county council, the new hire, couldn't find a place to live, and that's with a generous salary. So there are a lot of things that we can do. I know that the county is working on ADUs right now, accessory dwelling units. It's a 4-county program. It will take probably the next year for that to happen. I think that it's expensive also for people to put in an accessory dwelling. but it is an answer. I would like to see us to be able to repurpose some of our buildings. I know that there's some commercial building owners that are looking into that now. I think that's hugely important. I know that tiny homes were voted out the last time they went through, and I would actually like to reinvestigate that. I do think there is a department at the county that works on this. There is funding for this. I think that we need to work with the private sector, and we need to remove some of the stumbling blocks that are present right now so that the private sector can actually move forward with a lot of these programs.
All right, I'll rephrase the question. What are your plans for appeasing the affordable housing issue on the Highway 4 corridor in District 3?
It says addressing.
You're right.
Just looked over. Okay, so
Appeasing addressing.
there's a lot of different things that our county can be doing. So we have a lot of R2 and R3 zoning in this county, and what that means is duplexes, triplexes. Our county has put roadblocks in the way of making these things be built out. So instead of saying, when I was on the planning commission and we were working on the general plan and ADUs and all of this came down from the state, we had huge conversations about it, and the conversation was allowing these properties to be built with septics. Somehow it got turned into you need sewer and you need county water. Well, now you all know we're dead in the water and we're not going to get the affordable housing built, and we've got investors and contractors out there that are ready to pull the trigger. But they don't have sewer on their properties with the proper zoning. So what they've done is said, okay, your property's no good, you're never going to build on it. We have to address that. We also can do the buildings that the county owns, especially down in San Andreas, because they will allow us, and our county owns a lot of these buildings. I mean, we run into issues with the lead-based paint and the hazard issues that they talk about in our county buildings, but they can be repurposed, they can be turned into apartments. Our biggest issue isn't low-income housing, and that's what that county funds has and what they're using. Our biggest issue is our workers. We need a program for our workers. It's the workforce programs. Like I said, we can start setting money aside. When you apply for grants, most of those grants need some sort of matching funds. We're not planning for that. We need to start planning for it. Take some of those funds, set them aside, apply for those grants, move this county forward, and be prepared. Let's prepare for our future. We can't just sit here. Nothing's going to happen overnight. I wish I could tell you it would. And I wish a lot more.
All right, the next question is, are you for short-term rentals? Are you for short-term rentals? So it's the short-term rental question. We'll start off with Mark.
There you go.
Sorry.
Yes, I am for short-term rentals. That is an industry in this county that is huge. I managed short-term rentals for 30 years. I stopped when COVID hit, and I'm not going to go back to it because Tim and I decided we like not being woke up at 11 o'clock at night because somebody's hot water heater didn't get turned on. So on the short-term rentals, I have 3 issues I want to address, and that is applying regulation. I want to see garbage bins. I want to see those driveways have snow removal so that they're not parking in the driveway and impeding the Public Works Department from doing their job. Our Public Works Department used to put up these great big billboards, you cannot park in the county road during snow removal. They've not been doing that. We need to get back to it. So garbage bins, snow removal, and why did my brain leave me? I have 3 issues, I swear. The number of people. So this isn't a huge regulation. State law currently says 2 people per bedroom plus 1. So if we have a 3-bedroom house, there should be 7 people in that house, maybe 8 if max. We shouldn't be seeing 14, 15, 20, and then their car and their driveway's loaded up and they're parking in our roadways. That will go a long ways, just that little bit of regulation, to making people be friendlier. Your neighbors will love you a lot more, and it's a simple solution to fixing it. We need to keep the short-term rentals. This has been our industry for forever and ever, long before I came here. And that money is valuable because it goes to our general fund, and it's the TOT is designated to fire, sheriff, public roads, because those 3 are impacted, and the visitor center. there isn't any reason the visitor center needs to double up on the tax we just voted on, and we can save some of that tax towards the affordable housing for our workforce.
All right, for Martin, we'll rephrase the question. Are you for short-term rentals?
I am totally for short-term rentals. We only have just over 300 hotel rooms in this county. We need short-term rentals. The pandemic has actually exacerbated that. The demand for short-term rentals is huge. I couldn't get people to stay in our hotels. They wanted to be in places where they felt safe, where they had their own sort of boundary around them, where they were out in nature. Yeah, short-term rentals. You can't have 5,000 people coming in for a concert and no place for them to stay for the weekend. I do believe they should be permitted. We permit our bed and breakfast. Why wouldn't we permit short-term rentals? I do think that we need to mitigate them for the owners so that so that their bear boxes are done, that the snow removal is done in the driveway, so you haven't got people parking in the middle of the road during a snowstorm. Noise ordinance, and especially safety. I think that I would love to be able to have safety information in all of these rentals. The DOT is really important. For every dollar that the Visitors Bureau spends, we bring $54 into the county. That was the last ROI study, return on investment. So that's hugely important. If we want to play with the big boys and the Visitors Bureau wants to be out there, it costs money to do that. I do think that the county has done a good job with getting the contract with Airbnb, VRBO, HomeAway, and unlicensed short-term rentals should be turned into the county. And I'm working on that with the Visitors Bureau. We get a lot of calls, and we'll make sure that everybody's licensed and gets the money to the county.
All right. Next question up is a COVID question. If COVID shutdowns happen again per state mandates, how do you support our small businesses? And we'll start off this one. Mark.
Hi, once again, I think this is hugely important. The Visitors Bureau did everything possible to support our local businesses, and that wasn't easy when we had locals that were screaming at us for bringing people into the county. Ultimately, we follow the county guidelines, and that's hugely important, and I know the county follows the state. And the Visitors Bureau will continue to do that. I will continue to do that. Whatever mandates we get from the county, we will enforce, and we'll make work for everybody. It's not an easy job. We got a lot of grief. I had people slamming the door in my 90-year-old employee's face. It's been really tough, to be honest with you. And I think that we have every indication that it might be tougher again. But I just want you to know I believe in playing by the rules and supporting our businesses. So we'll do it however best we can. I'll continue to say that we also dealt with a lot of the services on the Ebbets Pass corridor, up in the Stanislaus National Forest, where they were putting one dumpster during the pandemic. They were putting 9, and it still wasn't enough. The CDB was helping with that. So, yeah, I mean, anything that it takes, we're there.
Thank you. All right, the question again. If COVID shutdowns happen again per state mandates, how will you support our small businesses?
You know, I think our small businesses through COVID complied quite well. They protected employees, they put up the plastic shields, people that felt uncomfortable wore their masks. We did have issues with, some people not wanting to wear them, and it went back and forth. I watched a video recently of Martin with the Visitor Center, and in September of 2020, he was interviewed and chose not to spend the advertising dollars during COVID because he said it was bringing the wrong type of people here. We had people coming here from all over the place. Yes, our forest was heavily impacted, and there was a group of people started up the Calaveras Highway 4 cleanup crew. And we wrote checks to help them get rid of washers, dryers, whatever was being thrown on the wayside, so we all support it. I think if COVID comes back with a mandate, I think that everybody has pretty well protected and perfected how they're gonna run their business during that time period. I don't wanna see a shutdown. I think that that put a lot of our people out of business. We're still seeing the side effects from the collapse of it. I am one of those that says we have managed COVID quite well, and I think we can continue to manage COVID quite well. I don't think we're gonna get hit like we did last time with our businesses having to shut down. The restaurants have made exceptions for outside so that people can sit and eat. I think that through what happened, I think this county is pretty well prepared if it comes back again. You know, wear your masks. We have the shields for our employees in the grocery stores. I think that that was amazing that they all acted quickly. The banks did the same thing. I think we'll be all right, you guys. We've got this. We know how to take our 6 feet step back if we need to.
All right, next question. Most of the tax base is generated in District 3. What would you do to bring back that tax base to District 3?
That's not gonna happen. We are one big county, and even, it doesn't matter where that tax base is generated from. I think a bigger issue is getting the taxes collected. Our district has doubled in value in the last couple of years, and the assessments are behind. I can speak to this as a realtor. When I sell a house, I tell my client, you're not gonna get your supplemental bill for 2, maybe 3 years. That is a huge deal. That is money not coming into this general fund. So getting a new assessor in there, getting caught up on the 8,000 or 9,000 transactions that she is behind is gonna double that tax base coming into this county. You need to remember we only get about 18 cents on the dollar of those tax dollars because the rest goes to the state and the schools. So we have to be more diligent in collecting the tax dollars, not being 2 and 3 years behind so that we can get it into the general fund and clean up this county and move forward and do it in a good direction. As far as saying what can we do with those funds and we deserve to have more of them here, you know, we gotta look at everything in our entire county. What's a health and safety issue? Obviously that's gonna be the very first decisions that get made. I think that District 3 is pretty darn healthy. I think we look pretty good. I think we're standing up pretty tall. I think our property values are amazing. I think that we are contributing to helping this county be great. And I know that we can do better. I know that we will. And I think that if we all just come together and keep working together, we're going to keep moving forward.
All right. Rephrase the question again. Most of the tax base is generated in District 3. What will you do to bring back that tax base to District 3?
Thank you. Thank you for watching my video, by the way. And I think that I would say that if I said anything, it was that I would like to bring people into this county that engage in our businesses, in our restaurants, in our museums. The District 3 corridor is the ATM for the county. We all know that. I think that the rest of the county actually benefits. I was talking to Chief Johnson, and he was explaining how the benefit really does spread across the county so that public safety is taken care of by those tax dollars for the rest of the county. I would like to see how we can bring some of that back, though, to benefit the business owners in this community. And I'll leave it at that.
All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we have a bear question. And on that, I think all of us have seen increased bear activity this year. So this one is, the bear question is, it's basically the problem bears, and the problem bears due to excess garbage and stuff around. So basically, and if the bears get accumulated to that, they will end up being killed and everything. So basically, we'll make this a generic one, is how will you handle the problem bear condition and also residents leaving out garbage and stuff.
I think this goes with the permitting process and making sure that people have bear-proof. Oh, go ahead.
My question was more detailed. So we have a lot more visitation and we have a lot more human-caused bear issues from the garbage. Our bears are being killed because of the garbage. How would you work with our local refuse to make sure that our bears are safe from our human actions?
Thank you. Dave Vaccarezza with Cal Waste is a good friend. I will talk to him about how we can do that. I couldn't give you an answer right now, but I would love to be able to address that. I do think in the permitting process for the short-term rentals, it is imperative that we have bear-proof trash receptacles.
So this has been an ongoing issue for many years, and the Fish and Game Department is in control of trapping bad bears. And yes, it's sad because if you've been feeding the bears, they're going to be coming to us. They're in our neighborhoods, and when they start to be destructive, and if you turn it in, Fish and Game will come out, trap them, and take them and dispose of them. In previous years, they would bring bad bears from Yosemite to here and bad bears from Arnold to there, and that only got worse, and then it was much more destructive. So as far as short-term rentals, I don't think the issue is so much with people that are here full-time, because they can take their garbage to the dump, they can put their garbage out, they don't want to pick up their own garbage, so they're dealing with it. It is an issue with second homeowners that have garbage service, they leave the garbage out, and then it's spread, they're not here to clean it up. I think that education goes a long way, and I think people are figuring it out and they're learning. The homeowners associations have played a really big role in this, because in Blue Lakes, if your garbage is spread and they have to go pick it up, they're going to bill you $95 to clean up after you. So is that a good thing? I don't know. I think bear boxes are good for second homeowners that are going to have garbage service outside. When they're not here, it needs to be addressed. Education is the key to that. There's no regulation that says you have to have a garbage box, but I think they're great, especially if you're not here to deal with the aftermath. So I think being courteous to your neighbors is the only thing I can say. As far as the bear kills, that's a Fish and Game issue. That's a state issue. We would have to reach out to the state and say, can we find a nicer, kinder way? They're probably going to tell us we don't have the ability at this time. So it's on us to respect that wildlife, to do our part in making sure that we're not feeding the raccoons because they're cute. Don't feed the squirrels the peanuts.
The next question is a Murphy's one. How would you solve the parking problem in downtown Murphy's? How would you solve the parking problem in downtown Murphy's? We'll start off with Lisa.
Okay, so right now we had an existing agreement with the Masonic Hall for that parking, and that went, the lease expired. We've been in negotiations with our county. It's my understanding that that's about ready to expire again, because they did like a 3-month workout on that. So we're probably going to end up losing that parking really soon if the county and the Masonic Hall cannot come to an agreement. The business owners pay a fee when they open a business. That money is used to maintain the parking areas. The biggest complaint that I've received from Murphy's constituents right now is with the restaurants moving outside, they have taken away a lot of the parking, and COVID is not such an impact anymore. A lot of people would like to see those removed and get back to having the street parking and the no parking signs gone. When we go to the Black Park Players, where we've got the parking assigned right now that we're using and helping maintaining, I know a lot of people are going to go, ew, are you crazy? But yeah, I am a little bit. I think we need to start charging for parking in the Black Park Players, especially on the weekends whenever the public is here, and impacting the parking severely. And it wouldn't be much, but if we charged $5 to park and we start putting that money towards purchasing maybe another lot or a piece of land that comes available Maybe we can expand our parking. Our county doesn't have the budget to go out and buy pieces of land to expand the parking. We've got to find ways to start funding the budget to be able to provide for that. So that's one of my ideas.
Brad, the question is, how would you solve the parking in downtown Murphy?
Obviously, parking is a major issue in Murphy's, and the Masonic Lodge has been a problem. I know the county spent a lot of money repaving it and putting in the proper lines so people could park there. That contract is coming to a close here, but I think that the MBA and our current supervisor feel very confident that it will be renegotiated and they'll be able to continue that parking. I think that actually the answer is shuttles. I think we have a lot of parking in Murphy's. We have parking in Feeney Park. We have parking at Ironstone. We could be running shuttles for people. The parking on Main Street, that will be, the additional restaurant spaces will be coming up to possibly having to go away. It's been nice, I think, having people on the street. Parking is an issue. There probably will be something in the effect that people could actually keep their outdoor dining spaces if they pay into the parking fund. They would have to hold the county harmless, and so I think in that case probably most of them won't do it, but I do think that there are other ways of finding space. I mean, parking, bathrooms, all of our tourist infrastructure needs to be improved. We are a tourist industry. We need to cater to our tourists and our visitors. We need to keep the balance between our visitors and the quality of life of our locals. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
We're going to go down to our last two questions, and then we'll go to closing statements. All right. How to incorporate our infrastructure in the proposal for housing, in the proposal for affordable housing? How to incorporate our infrastructure in the proposal for parcel proposal for affordable housing? I'm probably mangled. Does that make sense?
Did you get that? Martin?
I want to refer who had that?
That was my question.
Okay.
What I'm looking at is,
Can you put the mic? Can you hold the mic,
Sure,
please,
sure.
so they can hear you in the back?
what I'm looking at is, how do we incorporate the infrastructure by means of utilities, underground utilities? From what I understand, there's no room to incorporate utilities in downtown Arnold, I'm sorry, downtown Angels. The utilities are full. We don't have any room to expand on the utilities. That's the question.
You might have to repeat that because a lot of you can't hear it.
Okay, good luck. Craig, help. Actually, you repeat it.
All right.
He's the moderator. Come on.
That's right.
John.
You want me to do it again?
How would you incorporate infrastructure needs into the proposal for housing affordability? I guess, as far as making sure how we have infrastructure, underground infrastructure, crowded things like that. How do you mitigate some of the problems with that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay.
I'll try and answer that. I do, and Craig was talking about Angels Camp, and I know that the infrastructure, the sewer and water infrastructure can't hold any new building. And I do think it's sorry. Oh. I think that has to be taken in the overall. I mean, I know you can't put a hotel in Arnold because of the infrastructure. I do think that this is a huge issue, and we need to start preparing. We need to start preparing to be able to accommodate, because we are growing, and we're going to grow, and whether we want to or not, we are going to grow. I think this area has seen that. I think that we have to, as we were saying earlier, look at the roads for evacuations to make sure that we're not overbuilding in areas where people can't get out. But I think for services also, and I think that we need to start looking at repurposing some of our buildings and how we can support those structures. So I don't know if that answers, does that answer your question? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so Arnold has expansion for their sewer. They can still take hookups. They can still take hookups for the water. We're mostly septic here, so that's going to be an issue there. Comcast is our major internet provider here, and they're overloaded. I will agree with you. And Verizon gets overloaded when the power outages go out, and then they become our only source. So I do know that we had some upgrades done to the tower recently. Doing upgrades is not easy. When I was on the planning commission, they came with Verizon did and wanted to upgrade Heather Drive and get that tower more data. Well, the people fought back. They don't want those loud, noisy towers and they're up in the sky. So we're going to have to work really hard at getting this done. We're lucky that our tower is at the top of Lilac Park and it's not in the HOA, and it's got a place for expansion. I know that during COVID, a lot of corporate employees were here. I'm not going to say the corporate name. And their employees were here and their company paid for some upgrades to get done to that tower. I do think you're correct in that we do need to be hitting on Comcast's door. They're not even supporting us when our power goes out. We're all paying the full price, but we're not getting the support we need out of Comcast. I know they are currently going around through the subdivision and updating some of the boxes as we go right now, and putting utilities underground for new subdivisions. The thing about new subdivisions in our area is that we're surrounded by state and forest lands. You're not going to see a whole lot of subdivisions. You're going to continue to see the build out we currently have, which means you're not going to get your utilities underground. We all know PG&E's been here working hard on our poles, making them quick releases in case of a tree hitting it so it doesn't start a fire. I think we're in the progress of a lot of these things happening right now. It's just we're not feeling it yet because so many people moved into our area so fast that we all just felt like this big lag on our internet and things like that.
Closing, the last question, then we'll go to closing statements. Will both candidates place on their websites all current and future forms relating to financial disclosure to the state? Can we get a pledge to for full financial disclosure on their campaigns? So, there we go.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Okay. I have no issue doing that. My 700 form is ready. I'm disclosing that I'm a real estate agent. I own my real estate office. I've checked the box about my income. As far as the contribution reports from who we're getting our donations from, those won't be going up until the end of April, so there is no contribution report currently to post for you. But as soon as we do have to post, I can make the pledge that I'll post that for you. I don't have any issue. Just so you know, those documents currently are public documents. You can at any time call the elections office and ask for a copy. You can go on their website, and it does allow you to search by our last names and pull all those forms. So right now, the only thing you would get is the 700 form. Where do you work? What is your income? Do you own any investment properties in Calaveras County? That's the only form available. So I think that that's a pretty generic, easy question for either Martin or I to answer and post on our sites.
Yes, I agree 100%. I will post everything on my site, and you can look at everything that's in the elections office currently. Thank you.
Thank you to the candidates and thank you to you. And we're going to start with closing statements now. Who wants to go first on closing? How do you want to?
Rochambeau.
Okay, all right. Okay. Okay. I have a coin in my pocket.
Call it in.
Let's do it. 2 minute closing. Who has a coin? Let's flip it. Okay. All right.
That's fair.
That makes sense. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's
a good one. All right, we got it. Here we go. 2 minute closing.
Thank you again all for coming tonight, and I'll keep this short because it's been long enough. I got cut off.
Stepping outside the table.
Thank you. Back to you. Let me get off the television. What I would say is that this feels like a calling to me. It doesn't feel like a career choice I'm very passionate about Calaveras, obviously. I love the work that I've done here so far. I would like to continue that work. Do I have a lot to learn? Yes. Do I want to learn it? Yes. Do I want to listen to you and to help you and to serve you? Yes, I do. In closing, I think what I'd like to do is use an old quotation that says that when a society grows great is when old people plant trees, the shade of which they know they will never sit under. And my forefathers did that for me, and I would ask for your vote so that I can do it for the next generation. Thank you.
Okay, so I have lived here a long time. Like I said, I have 4 generations of family here. I will be here to support you. I will be here to listen to you. It's my pledge to always be responsive. When I was on the Planning Commission, the rules at the county are you get to go to the podium and ask questions, and that's it. You sit back down. There is no answer. While I was chairing the Planning Commission for 2 years, I wanted to hear from you, and I wanted you to have answers. And so when you went to the podium, I gave you more time than the 3 minutes, and I wrote down your questions. I always turned to the director or legal counsel or another commissioner, and I always said, what's the answer to their question? They left happy. Staff thanked me for being responsible and responding to the citizens. That matters, that you have a voice. Not that we're back there voting on things in the county. It matters that you get input. I am the person that is going to lead you forward. I'm the person that's going to listen to you. I'm going to fight for you. I will communicate with you, and I'm asking for your vote on June 7th. My website's an open book. My cell phone, and it's my personal cell phone, is posted. I answer every call. I answer every email. I'm here for you, and I want your vote, and I want to be your supervisor. Thank you.
Just like to say thank you for coming out on a wet, cold night. We appreciate it. Thank you for caring about local government and your communities enough to inconvenience yourselves. Thank you very much. Thank you.